Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back in War Thunder and it's time to talk about some of the news that has happened over the last few days and some changelogs which have also happened over the last week or so. Obviously being busy with the dev server, it's kind of hard to keep up on the bugs which are fixed in the game. So I'm going to try and lump it all into this video here. So the first thing is access to the Chinese air and ground forces tech trees. Of course, with the release of updates 1.91, the Phantom II, the MiG-21, there's a lot of talk about these aircraft, but for me, one of the more interesting parts of the update is the addition of the 2 Chinese tech trees. And if you don't want to buy one of the CBT packs which are on offer, you can get yourself some tester stars and eventually be able to unlock them for free for yourself. So the way that you get a tester star is going to be between the 11th of September and the 20th of October. You have to get 12 tester stars, and you can get 1 star per day for ground and air, so they are separate tech trees when it comes to the stars, and all you have to do for a tester star for the tankers is win 5 times with a game activity of 60% or higher whilst controlling ground vehicles of rank 3 to 7, or rank 3 to 7, and then the tester star for pilots is win 5 times with ground activity, of game activity of 60% or higher whilst flying aircraft of rank 3 to 6. So if you haven't bought into the Chinese tech tree, then why don't you just play some of the other nations to try and get the research on some of the other new vehicles? So therefore you can get the tester stars, and after 12 days you will have access to the Chinese tech tree, depending on which one you want to go for. When it comes to the content of update 1.91, it's one of the largest content updates that we've had in an incredibly long time, and there are a bunch of new vehicles on offer. Obviously the Mistral, the Ariete, but why not try and grind out something like the Radeon at rank 4, maybe use some of the rank 3 machines. There's a lot of options that you can go for when it comes to the new stuff. So if you want to become a tester, that's how you do it. I definitely say I've so far had a decent amount of fun when it's come to the rank 1 of the Chinese tech tree. It's been very easy to go through because I basically just picked some of the best vehicles from other nations and plonked them into it. So we'll see how it goes on. I'll be giving my opinions on each of the ranks of the Chinese tech tree once I've spaded all of the vehicles. Now, moving on to the next thing, a few bugs that I personally found in the game. The first few is relating to the some of the tanks. So the first one is the M5A1. The M5A1 for the Chinese doesn't get scouting. Instead, it doesn't actually get any of the upgrades. And this is a carbon copy of the M5A1 that you find in the American tree. But you can see the American tree has improved optics and airstrike, whereas the Chinese doesn't get either of these options. And being a rank 2 light vehicle, it should have access to scouting, but unfortunately it doesn't yet. So hopefully that is changed. On top of this as well, now when it comes to some of the other funny bugs in the game, a lot of people have pointed this one out. The M8, if you have a look at the X-ray, the loader has become a Lego man. Now what's kind of interesting is if you actually get hurt, this M8 guy gets hurt, it only oranges like the back bit, this guy here, or the loader like the back little bit, but you still have the Lego man who is kind of sad there. It just looks like, you know, a less defined model of where the loader is, but yeah, it's just kind of funny. The last thing as well is the aviation side of things. The I-16s, they've definitely changed a lot of their flight models and they don't feel very fun to fly, but the P-66 and the CW-21, the CW-21 I've got a feeling is going to go up in BR very quickly. But I think it's an incredibly good plane. But anyway, we'll get into that, you know, when I start doing those types of videos. Instead, make sure to get yourself access to the trees, come and enjoy some of the fun. Now let's move on to the changelogs. So the changelog, the first one, is actually going back to the 27th of August. So a bug related to the fast attack craft type class 143 Albatross, where artifacts would visually block it while in the hangar and in battle have been fixed. So that's good. You know, you're actually able to use the thing instead of being completely confused. Another thing as well is there was an update today, but they've taken down the updates changelog, and I don't really know why, because because the changes have stayed the same, unless there was something wrong in the changelog and they're just rewriting it to put up, but they took down all mention of it. One of the things that it did change is the M4A175. This thing started life at 5.0 yesterday, but somebody realized that it only has a 75 on it, therefore it's gone down to 3.7. There were a bunch of other changes too, so hopefully we get that changelog at some point, but who knows? Anything's possible. It might just be folded into the overall changelog for the updates, which we'll be going over later. The next changelog is a bunch of fixes. So the site shaking, which was caused by changing the position of the suspension, has been fixed. So this is to do with hydropneumatic suspension. When you have a vehicle like the STB, for example, or something which has this hydropneumatic suspension, something where you can actually just change the level of suspension, what you would find is when you actually changed it, it would screw with your stabilizer. It would make your aim go floppy all over the place, and it wasn't exactly very fun. So let's say if we tilt it this way, like that, nowadays you can see it stays incredibly simple and incredibly straight, whereas before, what it would be doing is it would be jagging all over the place. So I'm very happy that that's been fixed. It makes the use of hydropneumatic suspension a lot better, meaning that, well, it's just nice, you know. It's a bug that's been in the game for like a year or maybe a little bit more, so having it fixed is lovely. A bug where, on the multiple monitor system, the interface elements were incorrectly placed has been fixed. I haven't ever really run a multi-monitor system. I thought about it in the past, and I think I'm going to do it in the future, so that's lovely to see. A bug in test flights where a selected ammunition belt wouldn't be applied if all modifications of the vehicle had been researched has been fixed. What a weird bug, but I'm happy that's fixed. A bug occurring with aircraft on the deck of an aircraft carrier where their hook wouldn't display during replays has been fixed. A minor bug, but once again, positive one. A bug where the reload animation on ships would sometimes display incorrectly has been fixed. So that obviously massively affects gameplay, so that is a very nice fix. Otherwise, that could have affected how people play the overall game. Then, the next one, a bug where in the viewer mode, the vertical camera rotation wasn't working has been fixed, which once again is good. Something I have actually found is when it comes to the gun depression on machines, so let's say I bring along something like something with not a lot of gun depression. The LVT is probably the best thing for this. I was just testing some night vision stuff earlier, which is why everything is in the night. But what it actually does, at least for me now, and I feel like this could be a setting change, because there's no way I would have put this in by myself. But what you'll find is the gun will be able to put down, and I can't put my cursor any lower than this. Like, I'm pulling my mouse down and it's just not going lower than this point, where before what I would be able to do is I'd actually be able, even with my camera, if I'm using my camera here in the thing, I can't move it down. I can't move it lower than the -3. So that is definitely a limiter, and it kind of, my hand is getting used to it. So hopefully, you know, it either gets used to it or it gets changed. The next one, a bug relating to tanks with an automatic loader, where loading would be cancelled when fighting a fire, has been fixed. It makes no sense for an auto-loader to stop loading unless you stop the whole system to fight the fire, which is not going to happen in a War Thunder situation. A bug where the ship's AI AAA would fire on air targets which were outside the cannon's vertical range has been fixed, thank God, because at least with a lot of the ships that I would use, you would have them battering at aircraft from absolutely miles away, and you would have to redirect their fire to other planes which were a little bit closer to you. It's as if like the priorities of the AI were a little bit all over the place, so I'm glad that's been fixed. The ability to hide the mouse cursor in the spectator mode has been added. Wonderful stuff. That means that being able to view stuff from the outside and recording, at least from my point of view, is great. Radar visualization and replays has been added. Lovely. There's a lot of nice additions to replays, making it clearer to either show content to people or being able to, show people specific things. The menu for selecting game modes has been changed. So this was a while back. A lot of you guys will be used to it now. But basically this one here. I wonder if any of you, have you been using the preferred missions idea or the map rotation thing? I personally haven't. I don't, as a person who wants to experience most of the parts of the game or all the parts of the game, I try and not limit myself, but I'm wondering, how is it working out for you? Is it a good change in your opinion, or is it because I know with it they've also seemed to have increased the favorability of specific maps at certain BRs. So at top BR, I've seen a lot of people talking about getting White Rock Fortress and Ash River, which in my opinion are not maps which fit top tier at all. So I want to see how those play out after a few weeks or months or so. But with this new map rotation filter, you can just turn them off. So, let me know your opinions about that stuff. A bug with lack of memory leak has been fixed. Oh, that's so good. One of the memory leak is one of the biggest issues, especially at least for me. If I'm playing the game for many hours and also recording, I don't want my PC to slowly kill itself over time. The next changelog is just the Type 60. The vertical aim with the sniper sight has been fixed, and a bug where the SRI missiles wouldn't track targets has been fixed. This was hilarious because they fixed it, and then in a later update they broke it again, and now it seems to be fixed again. So at least the SRAMs at this moment in time are working. What is kind of sad is that for the Swifty boys, the Swift F, the Swifts, let's go find them. So you got the Swift F1 and the F7. The F7 doesn't have its missiles yet. Hopefully it gets them soon. But what they did add in, which is lovely to see, is they have added in the cockpits for the Swifts, which wasn't available on the dev server. And the cockpit is really nice. It's a simple cockpit, and it's just lovely to see that it's finally here. It's not a placeholder; it's fully done. And it just looks really, really nice. A lot of consoles, a lot of stuff which is going on. A lot of people have also asked about a specific type of radar, a range-finding radar, which has been added into the game. And I believe it's on the F-86s, so we'll just test it out for you here. Might not be on this F-86, might be on a different one. Yep, it looks like it is. But basically what it is it's a range-finding radar. And this range-finding radar, what it does is it makes it able for you to be able to range a target using radar in realistic. So you can see it here. What happens is it fires off a bounce or whatever you want to call it. It hits the aircraft and then comes back to you, and then the radar itself measures the distance between it. So if there's a target within 3 kilometers, it will tell me how far away that target is from me. The thing is, this doesn't really matter in Air Arcade or Air Realistic because we have the distance markers. But in something like Simulator, yeah, I suppose it's kind of useful. It also will help you with aiming a little bit, but at least for me overall, it's not something I really am going to use that much, just because I'd rather use the Mark 1 eyeball because I've played the game for quite a long time. The last bug we're going to have a look at is a bug which could cause a short performance drop in certain circumstances has been fixed. I will say with this new update, I have had a few issues with frame rate, but that might be down to something that I'm doing, such as either listening to music in the background or running Chrome or something. So I'm not attributing it to War Thunder, so it was nice that this was fixed, but also there seems to be a few little performance issues, which, as I said, might be on my end. But the general thoughts so far, conclusions when it comes to the new update, if you want to know my things, so far so good. I haven't found anything which is really game breaking, just a few little bugs here and there, which I will make sure to report. If you're looking for what content we're going to be doing on the channel in the next few days, gonna do some gameplay, gonna do some stuff such as the past the developers things, and also looking over the patch notes. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Mopar 1969, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, and Elove Goat, and of course Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.